I just want to welcome everybody that's here tonight, and thank Maria Lorenz for taking the time to put together a presentation on the SEPAC policy, the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. And she's going to go over the current policy, the proposed changes to the policy, and then we can have a little discussion as to our thoughts about it. And for those who don't know, my name is Christina. I am the president of Elizabeth Parents and Students Care. And I'll let Maria speak a little bit about herself, and Dr. Patty Gallant, who's also on the call, and Ricky Castaneda, both of whom are part of our Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Board. So yeah, take it away, Maria.
So hi, good evening. Welcome to those that are here and also those that will be watching this later as a recording. My name is Maria Lorenz. I am your friendly neighborhood advocate. I've been doing it for quite some time and many years. I have taken some courses through SPAN for the SRP training through SPAN. I also did the COPA training. COPA is the Council of Parents, Advocates, and Attorneys and Advocates. So I did that training as well, which is quite rigorous in addition to some rights law training. I have 2 children that are special needs, and we've been in this district of Elizabeth now for 15 years, going on 16. So just wanted to bring this and put this together for all the parents to understand what their rights are, understand how your voice impacts and affects policy, and how we can make a change for the better of the district. Okay, so.
Dr. Gallant, you want to say anything? You want to introduce yourself and give us a little spiel?
Good evening. As Christina said, my name is Patty Gallant. I was a teacher in Elizabeth for 25 years. I've been retired now from the district for about 14. And it couldn't be a better fit, so to speak, than to be working with Christina and Maria to help the kids in Elizabeth as much as I possibly can. I'm a teacher. Christina and Maria are parents. Maria knows a lot about the law. Christina is learning a lot about the law, but she has helped many, many parents in the district. And I have no doubt you will learn from Maria this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gallant. Ricky, you want to introduce yourself and say a little something? Upside down?
Sure. I don't know why I'm upside down, but wait, am I good now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, my name is Ricky Castaneda, pronouns he, him. I'm also another board member of the Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Group. And I've been also pretty active member of the community, trying to advocate for a lot of things for like the last few years. Most recently, something that myself and other members of the community have recently worked on was to successfully push the city council to restore the cap on rent increases in our town. So for rent control, buildings, like rent was capped at 3%. We were able to restore it to a $20 cap. But trying to help members of the community live lives a bit more better. And yeah.
Thank you. Aisha, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh, I didn't think you were going to call on me.
Gotcha. We didn't catch you upside down like Ricky.
Oh yeah, I'm just a parent in School 21. My son goes to School 21.
Okay.
Yeah, here in like Elmora area of Elizabeth. He has an IEP. He's in 1st grade. I know about CPAC thanks to Christina and her posts on Facebook. I received a lot of education from you and also from Maria, also through Facebook, on this whole IEP journey for my son who has autism, and he's 6 now. So I appreciate all the information, you know, that I've learned from you guys, just about services that are available, services that are not, and just like how impactful like the voice of parents could be. And you know, I hope that I can do something to just help the community in that regard, and you know,
Are you
other
on the
parents like myself.
Are you on the CPAC at School 21? Do they have one that you know of? Or
They don't. I sent an email to somebody. You gave me some email addresses on
okay,
Facebook, and I emailed, you know, those people, and I, you know, inquired about like having a CPAC at the school. They basically said no, and that they don't have to have a CPAC at School 21, as long as there's a CPAC for like a certain number of schools in the district or something, that like
Mhm.
they don't have to have one, basically,
Did
is like,
somebody send you that via email?
yeah.
Do you mind sharing that email with me?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So
Do you
that
want me
just,
to like message it to you on Facebook, or?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a screenshot and I'll send it to you.
That is terrible. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because well, in the past, they did have a representative supposedly for every school, a parent representative for every school.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that's what they were going to be doing this year as well, but I don't know if anything's gotten started. But I'm gonna
I
let
haven't
Maria
heard
do the
anything.
presentation. Yeah, I'm gonna let Maria do the presentation because they want to change the CPAC policy. And they tried to do it and they had some pushback from Maria and I. So they're holding off. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the policy. And then after what they do with the policy, what they actually implement, you know? But yeah, so that's why it's, you know, we're trying to do this so that parents can be more aware of what it is, and so that we have more people speaking about it, because again, when it's only the same two people bringing up the same issues over and over, they kind of like try to tune us out, you know? So I'm glad you're here, and hopefully you could be one of those voices that helps us to, you know, amplify what we're trying to do. So yeah. Take it
Yeah,
away,
I hope
Maria. It's all
so.
yours.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
No worries. So I want to start by sharing my screen so that you can see the presentation. If you can just confirm for me that you do see my screen, that would be fantastic. Can everyone see my screen?
Sorry, I have my audio turned off. Yes.
Okay, great. So this presentation is about SEPAC. So what is it? What does it do? And what does it mean? So what is a SEPAC? A SEPAC is a special education parent, and I put that in red because there is nothing that happens here without parents' involvement, advisory committee. That is what it stands for. The C can also be substituted for a group, so it could be a CPAG or a CPAC. Okay, do we need to have one? The answer is yes. According to the New Jersey Administrative Code law, each district board of education shall ensure that a special education parent advisory group is in place in the district to provide input to the district on issues concerning students with disabilities. So the key important thing to take away from here is that it should ensure that the CPAC is in place in the district to provide input to the district on issues that are concerning children with disabilities. The purpose and state guidance tells us that the regulation allows for parents and school district leaders to create and run a group that meets our local needs. This should benefit all students with disabilities, not just a single group or focusing on a particular issue. And I want to elaborate on that because in prior CPACs, children that have 504 plans and accommodation plans were not being included in the CPAC. This is a violation. This should benefit every child that has a disability, irrespective if they have an IEP or a 504. All of these parents should be included.
I just want to chime in on that, because my son had a 504, and I would never get any notifications about the CPAC meetings, or any of like the flyers that, some of the children that were in special needs specific classrooms would get flyers sent in their book bags and stuff, and I would never receive anything, because my child was a 504, and I asked about that, and I was told by, I think it was Mr. DiDonato at the time, who was the 504 coordinator, that that because we don't fall under special ed, then, you know, that's why we weren't getting the notifications, which is ridiculous because, I mean, really the notifications should go out to anybody and
Mhm.
everyone, and whoever wants to join, joins, right? Or partakes in the meetings. But they were being very specific and selective as to who was being included. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And that's not good because as we see through the presentation, you'll see why it's better. So membership, the state guidance also tells us that current and former students can be part of a CPAC, parents, of course, community leaders, and other citizens. Perhaps there's a local minister that will want to join a CPAC. They're able to become members of a CPAC. Teachers can give input. The child study team, sometimes you'll see a case manager there and other professionals, whether it's a speech person, a speech therapist, or a physical therapist, or occupational therapist, they can also be part of a CPAC. School leaders, board members, and also director of special services. Okay. So the policy in the district details who can participate. The state says that all of these members here, which I just read off, current, former students, parents, community members, teachers, child study team, principals, board members, they can all participate. However, what Elizabeth has done as policy, it doesn't match what the state guidance and the state says that they can do. Elizabeth does not include current or former students. Parents, well, I put a yes and a no check mark because they select the parents that they want to participate. So it's not like you can say, hey, I want to be a member of the CPAC and they let you in. The parents are chosen, and previously, the policy, the way it currently is, because they haven't fully changed it yet, says that it has to be a parent that is recommended by the principal or your child study team. So if you're a very vocal or outspoken parent, chances are you're not getting on that CPAC. Other community members, they do not, Elizabeth policy does not consider other community members. I put a yes and a no for the next one, which is teachers, because I have not seen a teacher be a part of a CPAC. I've seen supervisors of child study teams. Sometimes I've seen a director of special ed that will pop by, and I've never really seen a principal at a CPAC meeting. So that's why I kind of say yeah and no. Board members, yes and no. The reason being, our board members, usually they stay for the photos. They stay for the photo ops, they shake hands, and they leave. So they don't really are close to the ground or understand what the issues are. They're not very educated on what the issues are because they're not members of a CPAC. Okay. What is the function of a CPAC? So guidance tells us that the CPAC should be working on systemic change based on our parent input. Now, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Systemic change could be, I remember when I was the CPAC president once, I had a parent that said to me, my child is the last one to get picked up on the bus. They put all the other kids that don't have IEPs, they get to go home first, and my child is always last. And then another parent said the same thing. And another parent said the same thing. And I brought it up to the school district and I said, let me ask you a question. can we get transportation here to talk to the parents so that we can better understand why so many kids in these specific schools are being left last to be taken home, right? When we should be having them go at least a little bit earlier, they should go home first. Why are they the last kids to get home? That's a systemic issue. When you see that that problem is bubbling up, perhaps you have a parent that says, I try to get my child evaluated and they refused an evaluation. And another parent says, gee, that happened to me too. And gee, that happened to me too. That's a systemic issue because the law states that by child find, they have to seek, identify, and evaluate children that you suspect may have a disability. So that becomes a systemic issue. It's when more than just a few people have that issue. The state also says that they should share information. The SEPAC should share information about instructional programs and professional development. So if our teachers are going through a specific training, perhaps it's seclusion and restraint, that we understand what that means. What are the teachers being instructed to do? And also instructional programs, what programs are out there. A lot of these skills, social skills program, for example, they'll tell you, oh, we just do, for socio-emotional learning, they don't have a curriculum. That's a problem. They don't follow a curriculum. So what they're doing is that each school is doing a hodgepodge, a mix of whatever they can find out there. That's not a true instructional program. An instructional program is something that has a curriculum, and that's not what's happening. Okay. Identifying the needs of the community in areas like services and programs. Maybe there's a new service or a new program that popped up that the community should know about. I believe there's a new therapy place that opened up in Union, and maybe that's a resource that's shared with the community, and that's not happening. So identifying areas like that. And input on allocation of resources and priorities. This is super important. When it comes to budget times, they're going to do what they want to do. But you know where the allocation of resources and the priorities are when it comes to special education. And an example of that is when you're denied for a service. When they tell you, oh, we can't do speech. We don't have enough speech therapists. Or we can't do occupational therapy. There just isn't enough. And we have to subcontract. That becomes an allocation issue, right? Elizabeth receives millions of dollars. There's no reason why they're denying children services. And to also help to change policies and programs. So the goal of a SEPAC is to look at the system issues, that is challenges and opportunities that affect a larger group of students. That is what a SEPAC is supposed to do. It's not what it's been doing all of these years. So just wanted to also share some of the excerpts. Christina had identified this policy that was being changed, and this is a policy that we both followed very near and dear and very closely. So they are changing a few things. The district is proposing to change the current policy, and you can see by everything that's struck out what they're taking away, and everything that's here is what they're proposing. So they don't plan to run this a full year. It's going to run from October to June and not from September when school starts. Principals are now giving recommendations to the parents. So my question is, how do we know that the principal is not biased or being influenced by others as to which parent to select? Maybe your principal doesn't like you, and if you said, I want to go on the SEPAC, so how is that transparent, right? How is it that we know that there's no bias in the process? The other issue that they changed was the PTO. Many years ago, when I was CPAC president, there was no policy. They created the policy because I was informing parents too much of their rights. And I was having them do the work, which they didn't want to do. And at that point, they suggested having a PTA or a PTO for parents to join in order to be selected to be a part of the CPAC. This is a violation. I shouldn't have to pay, and neither should anybody in this community. Single parents have to pay money to join a PTO or PTA to be considered to be part of a program which is mandated by law. That is just highly inappropriate. The PTO or the PTA doesn't know whether you're a special needs parent or not. I don't know that they understand what a SEPAC is. My guess is that many of them don't. And even translation to get the word out and to get that resource out. I have a lot of issues when it comes to having you join an organization that you need to pay in order to be part of something which is mandated by law. And how will the out of district kids, if you're a parent that has a child that's out of district, how it says right here in the highlight in the bottom, PTO or other parental organization of the out of district school. How many PTOs or PTAs do you know are out of district? I haven't come across one single one. And if what is the definition of parental organization of the out of district school? How is Elizabeth going to gather information from all of these out of district schools? I don't know how they intend to do that. We have problems just communicating within our own district, much less trying to go outside and get more feedback. And who's making these final decisions and based on what exactly is not really addressed in this policy, and it's not very clear. So those are some of the issues that I want you to just think through as you're looking through this policy and saying what's wrong with this policy, right? More to this policy. Yes, there is more. It says at the top that the committee, all parent members of the committee shall engage in the training provided by the district prior to commencing their term as a member of the SEPAC. Such training shall be arranged through the Department of Special Services. I have it on very good authority and understand that the training is done by the district, yes, but not through a neutral party. They use the lawyer, their lawyers. And that is the same lawyer that's going to fight you in court if you have an issue. Okay? They're doing DeFrancesco, Bauman, and Flaum. They have a very long name. But that is the law firm that they're utilizing. So this is the same lawyer that if you said, I'm going to go to mediation because I have a problem, the district didn't hold their end of the bargain on the IEP, you're going to be sitting across the table from the same guy that trained you in the SEPAC if you happen to be a member. And if you're not, now you know that this is the lawyer that is going to train the SEPAC. And he's not going to be very transparent as to what you can or can't do. It also states here that the SEPAC shall have at least 2 workshops per year open to the community to discuss issues and matters raised and identified during committee meetings. The community will only get 2 workshops in a year. There's no clarity on how these topics are selected. Okay. During these 2 workshops is the only time that the communities have a chance to discuss issues that are raised and identified during committee meetings. How is the community supposed to know what these issues are that are being identified during these committee meetings if you're not a part of them? So it's almost like the SEPAC is already being set up to fail in this district because there's a lot of holes in this policy. The other interesting thing is, yes, it says they should have written agendas and minutes that should be shared with the Director of Special Services and the Chief School Administrator. That usually refers to Olga, who is the superintendent of the district, Olga Hugelmeyer. And it also says that at least once a year, the SEPAC Executive Committee, in conjunction with the district administration, will provide an overview of the work of the committee and provide input to the district on issues critical to special education at a scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Okay, and at the beginning of of each year, the voting members are going to determine who are the 2 representatives that are going to co-represent the SEPAC at the annually scheduled meeting with the Board of Ed. Now, I want to draw your attention to something very curious. Up here, they took this out. This is what's presently in the policy. It says at least once a year, And more often if necessary, the committee shall meet with the board and or the board committee in a workshop meeting to provide an overview of the work of the committee and provide input to the board on issues critical to special education. They changed it. The workshop now is going to be with the district to then present to the board one time a year, when before it would say more often if necessary. So that means your input would only be heard once a year by board members. It is a big change. So before, the CPAC would meet with the board annually or more times, but under the new rules, they will only meet with the district and the board at least once a year. Okay. Some key takeaways and guidance from the state. And I keep referring to the state because the state has a guideline that they set up. I was actually very fortunate to be a part of this guidance that was set from the state because the state, what they did was they went to different areas and they asked parents what they wanted to see and what it should be. And everyone gave input, down from administrators at a state level to members of schools, administration members, and also to parents. So they got a really good view. The state guidance tells us that every district is required to have a CPAC, that CPACs are to address system level changes that are affecting us, families and the student with a disability. The CPAC is parent driven and parent led. So this I'm going to recommend or I'm going to select a parent really doesn't fly because the district is selecting parents that they know are going to follow their agenda and not follow any of this guidance. Membership of the CPAC committee is up to the group. So it's up to the group of members of the CPAC, and it should be diverse and inclusive, and it's just not in Elizabeth. Parents are to provide input about programs, policies, and systemic issues. Parents may need childcare. Consider that the district has held CPAC meetings through Zoom and workshops because they don't want to provide childcare and they don't necessarily want to provide translation services such as sign language or a foreign language or Braille. And much less, they don't want to provide transportation and other supports for you to participate. And this brings a very important topic, translation services. If you look at the district's website, back when I started here in the district, the website was never translated. So you were forced to understand that website in English. I had to file a complaint with the federal government, the Office of Civil Rights, and the Office of Civil Rights said that I was right and told the district, you need to change your website and it needs to include other languages. So now when you go on the website and you click for the website to be translated to you in Arabic or Creole or Portuguese, it does that. It was because it takes the voice of one person to go ahead and say, this is wrong. It doesn't address everyone understanding the information for that to happen, for change to happen. So that's just one person that did that. Imagine if we all came collectively as a group to make that change. CPACs hold several types of meetings at different times and locations. This is something that's also very important, as I see that sometimes we have events and meetings that happen early in the morning, but don't happen in the evening for parents that are working. So the guidance states that different types of meeting include not just parent-led group meetings, but informational meetings that regard a special topic with a speaker, or a listening meeting, or parent forums that are held specifically to gather input, which is the job of the CPAC, as well as meetings with school leaders. It has to develop a schedule. It should develop a schedule for the year, such as monthly parent-led meetings or 4 to 5 informational outreach meetings with topics and speakers. The purpose is to bring families and schools together and then hold a quarterly meeting with the district leader to present input and suggestions. Can you imagine if this was actually implemented in Elizabeth? I think we will have a much different city. Some key takeaways as well is using a variety of communication and outreach strategies to reach and engage our parents to solicit input. It could be that we're going to have a group meeting. It could be we're going to do a survey. It could be scan on this QR code. We want to hear from you. Identifying the needs of the community, like services and programs, input on allocation, and help to change policies and programs. That is what a CPAC is charged with doing. This is the policy. Everything that you see with the strikeout is what they took out of the policy. And also you can see the changes as they've added on and not struck out certain things within the policy. So I'll stop right there and open it up for any questions or any input. I don't know, Christina, if you want to touch on the GRC and what prompted this change to the CPAC policy.
Yeah, so thank you, Maria. That was very in-depth and informative. I just want to acknowledge we had a few more people join the chat. So I mean the Zoom. So for whatever portion you missed of the Zoom meeting, we will be posting this on our YouTube channel. And I will be posting pictures of the slides on our Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Facebook page for the parts that people may have missed and for whoever could not join us tonight. So what Maria is referring to is last year, or maybe longer, we wanted to find out who were the members of the CPAC, right? And that should be information that is readily available to anyone, right? Because you as a parent may want to reach out to that CPAC member because it was supposed to be that each school had a CPAC representation, right? So if my son was at JVJ STEM Academy and I wanted to talk to her or bring some concerns about special ed to my representative, I should be able to know who that person was so that we can communicate. I was never made aware of who my CPAC representative was. And so through our parent group, I kind of made a post, I think at one point, asking if parents knew who their CPAC representative was. And I think almost everybody said they either never heard of CPAC, didn't know what a CPAC was, and didn't know who their representative was. And so that information was also not on our website. And so Maria and I decided that we were going to file an OPRA request, which is an Open Public Records Act, a request to the district to find out who the representatives were. Anybody can file an OPRA request. A lot of this information is public record. So it's supposed to be made easily and readily available to community members, right? So I filed a request. They told me basically they can't give it to me. I think they cited privacy concerns, which made no sense because when you put yourself out there to be a member of a CPAC, it's kind of implied that that people know that you have a special needs child, right? I'm not going to put myself in an organization for special needs children and not want anybody to know I have a special needs child. Now, I don't have to disclose my child has X, Y, and Z, right? And nobody's asking for that information. What we wanted to know is who are each representative at each school so that parents in those schools would know who they would contact. And ideally, those CPAC representatives at school 12, at school 21, at whatever school should be holding some kind of a meeting with parents in those schools, kind of like a PTA or a PTO meeting, to discuss those issues at that particular school, right? Because at school 21, we may have different issues than school 7 has, or different concerns, right? So anyway, Maria and I filed a GRC complaint. So it's kind of like a state level complaint, right, Maria?
Yes, it's a complaint with the state level to permit access to those records.
Right. They would investigate the fact that the school district was denying us access. The school district decided, or we decided to mediate to see if we could come to some kind of an agreement. and that kind of led nowhere. But what we did say was that what we wanted to see were the names of the SEPAC members made public, possibly posted on the website with contact information like emails, but that those names should be readily available. And we had other little back and forth kind of discussions. Nothing was resolved. Mediation didn't work out. So now we move forward with the GRC investigating and then coming to a decision. Now the school district knows that this GRC complaint process can be a very long process. Right now, I think we're like a year into this process, right?
Yeah, we're a little bit over a year into the process. And to be clear, the GRC stands for the Government Records Council. But the GRC, after mediation, will have us go to court and argue our point in front of a judge. So Christina and I teamed up and said, we'll wait.
Yeah, but
Which
we
is
were,
not what they expected.
because the point here is that if we would have kind of mediated with them, they would have, it wouldn't have been on record that they needed to provide this information to the public. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to set a precedent that they could no longer deny us, the public, access to these members. So I think in response to that meeting that we had with the school district lawyers, they decided to be a little proactive and put it into the policy that these SEPAC members, their information, their names and emails would go on the school district website, which is great. So that's something positive that kind of came out of our little mediation. We'll see what the results, the rest of that comes with. But I think it's just to the point of what Maria was saying, that when one or two people see a problem and they file a complaint, that change does happen. It may not happen as fast as we wanted to. It may not be exactly what we wanted. But it is important to bring these issues to light and to file complaints, contact the right people that we need to contact, follow some kind of chain of command. And, you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But if you never try, then nothing's ever going to change. And that's what the school district and the board bank on, is that people will give up and not continue to push the agenda, right? And then they can continue to do whatever it is that they're going to do anyway. And that's what the point of having these meetings and us coming together collectively to try to get more voices added to the conversation. Because for a very long time, it was me, Maria, Michelle, Patty, and you know, Maria and I have children that are in high school and beyond. They've gone through the Elizabeth Public School system, and we've fought at, like Maria has said before, at the detriment of our own children at times. And so, you know, we want to create some other voices to continue on to hold the people that we've elected to represent us accountable, so that they can continue to be the voice for our children, and not the voice for anybody else.
I would
So
also want to preface and mention that we have 3 board members that have special education children that have special needs that sit on this board. They understand and know what a SEPAC is. One works in a school. Another board member is an educated professional. And we have another board member that formerly used to work for SPAN, the Statewide Parent Advocacy Network. All these 3 board members are very well versed in what this is. And the fact that we still, to this day, years later, do not have a functioning SEPAC is a testament to the change that needs to happen and how we need to continue to hold them accountable, because they know what they're supposed to do and they're not doing it.
yeah, and you know, we are one of the largest school districts in the state of New Jersey, very close to a school district like Newark. And Newark has I've been to a few of their, they hold huge SEPAC presentations that they do, and they invite other school districts to come partake. And I mean, they do an excellent job. Again, no school district is perfect. you know, of course, there are going to be parents that are going to have to fight more than others. But at least there's a platform there. At least they do send out, they had a whole program where they would send out surveys in conjunction. So the SEPAC was operating as an outside entity. Yes, they would invite the school district leaders to partake, but they had their own president and VP and bylaws and all of that. And they would work in conjunction with the school district, and they would send out surveys asking the parents questions about what their issues and concerns were, and things like that. And then at the end of the year, or I don't know if it was a year long or more process, they put out a report about what the systemic issues were, right? And then I guess they met with the school district, and then hopefully they worked to try to address some of those concerns. But ideally, that's what we want to have happen. I know for a fact we have so many parents who want to have their children evaluated, or they think their child has a special need, or they see something in the classroom, or the teacher tells them, hey, your child is, you know, I think they may be dyslexic, or they may have ADHD. And sometimes parents have outside evaluations come and they present it to the school district, and still their child does not get services, right? We have, I get messages all the time from parents like that. So that is a systemic issue, where
Absolutely.
parents are asking for evaluations and their children are continuously being denied. And we've gone to the board and we've spoke about that, and we've asked the board, those 9 people that we elect to represent us, we've asked them to audit the special education department and specifically look at how many requests for evaluations were being made and how many were being denied. And if they did it, we wouldn't know, because there's no communication being had. So I don't think it was done. They haven't reported back that it was done. So, you know, again, when as parents, we're going there and we're talking and we're asking for these things, and we're telling them what the issues are, and there's just no communication, no feedback, no coming to the table. No, it's just very frustrating, very, very frustrating. Especially when, you know, they sit there and they genuinely say that they care, and you just have to wonder, then why are, yeah, why are our children falling through the cracks then? Like, you know, I get that, you know, there's only so much people can do. And especially now with the federal funding and things being scaled back, it's going to be even more difficult. But at least, you know, if we feel like there's you know, desire to want to collaborate and want to really address the issue or attempt to address it, then, you know, at least you feel like your voice is being heard. But that's not even happening at this level. Even just trying to get a CPAC together has been years long in the making.
And nobody knows better than the superintendent that this is something that should happen, being the chief school administrator. And may I add, the superintendent herself is also a special needs mom. I forgot to leave that out. I forgot to include that actually in what I was saying earlier, that we have board members that are also parents of special needs kids. Even more so, you would think that there would be more of a push and more of a desire to have a proper functioning CPAC. Another systemic issue we identified was that kids were not being serviced according to their IEPs. That is a systemic issue. When your child is not getting those pull-out services, or is not going to the resource room. And it's
Oh yeah,
written
we have
IEP.
tons of systemic issues, especially now with special ed teachers. I mean, I was just going through the agenda from the last meeting, and I saw so many resignations of special education teachers, aides. We know that there is a shortage of special education teachers, and the shuffling around that they are doing of LDTCs in the district. So there's just a lot going on, a lot that parents don't know, a lot of services that are in the IEPs that aren't being delivered, and parents don't know that they're not being delivered because they don't know how to ask the right questions. And so they think their child may be getting, you know, a certified one-to-one aid for their child, and they're not. They think they're being pulled out for special, for speech therapy, and they may not be. So, you know, parents need to be more vigilant than ever, to ensure that their child is getting what they're supposed to be getting.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
I did have a question. Well, I was just hoping for a clarification. So the CPAC, it is supposed to have one parent member?
The way the policy was written before, it was one parent member from chosen, recommended by a principal, and the other one recommended by a child study team. So it should have been two people from an elementary level, a middle school level, and a high school level, and I believe also an out of district. That's how the policy was set up previously, and now they're trying to do school representatives in each school.
So let me just clarify. What Maria's saying, that's how the policy was written. But when we were asking for that information 2 years before that, they did give me a list of the parent representatives, and they had one representative for each school. So they weren't even following their own policy. Yeah. So their own policy said one per, what was it, grade level, or
one from elementary, I'm sorry, elementary, middle school, high school, and out of district.
right. So a total of like what,
Eight.
eight people.
Eight.
Right. So that was their policy, but they weren't even following their own policy, because they gave me a list 2 years ago with the names of every representative, one representative for each school. And then
And sometimes schools didn't even have representatives. Sometimes there were schools that weren't represented.
Right. And the following year, when I asked for that same list, is when they said, no, we can't give it to you. And I'm like, well, you gave it to me the year before. Why aren't you giving it to me now? And so after I got that list and I made a post on our Facebook page, I knew a good number of those parents that were on that list. And I contacted them. I'm like, hey, how did you get on this CPAC? And 9 times out of 10, they had no idea that they were on a CPAC. They's like, oh, the principal just asked me if I wanted to be part of this meeting or part of this board. And I said, yeah. One parent was like, oh, I thought I was on a PTA. That's what I wanted to join. So they were just plopping people on this CPAC, just to say that they had people, and, you know, holding meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning when most people are at work. So of course, most of those representatives that they picked didn't make the meetings. And then the school district wanted to turn around and tell Maria and I that they were having a hard time getting parents to show up to the meeting. Correct. I said, well, number one, you're like picking people to be on this thing. It's not like people are volunteering. They don't even know what they're being picked for. And then you're holding meetings at 10 a.m. So of course they're not going to show up. Right. So I forgot what your question was, but I hope we answered it.
No, yeah, you did. You did, because in the beginning, I was telling you about when I contacted School 21. So I looked back on the email, and what they told me was that they already have a parent who's a CPAC member at the school. And so I could I could join next year or something. But I guess when I sent the email, my understanding was that any parent with you know, a child with a disability could join this group that is called CPAC. Like, I didn't realize it was like one, like, you know, however many representatives per school.
It's the way this district has this set up. So they'll pick one parent representative, and then out of, like, let's say we have 30 schools, one parent representative for 30 schools, and then that group of 30 has their private meetings and trainings, and then they'll host meetings that are supposed to be open to the general public, right? But they're not doing that. They're having what's called workshops, which is basically the district presenting, like kind of like we're doing here. Today we had a workshop, let's say on the CPAC, right? They'll have a workshop on your rights in special ed, let's just say. So they'll hold like the two of those workshops. So it's not meetings that are for them to collect systemic issues, right? Which is what they're supposed to be doing. It's just meetings for them to have a presentation.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. That is the way it's supposed to be, right? There can be a board, a president, a VP, a secretary, a treasurer, but then there should be public meetings. We're having a meeting today of the CPAC. Anybody and everybody come, and we're going to have a meeting about X, Y, and Z, right? You'll have an agenda. And that's the way it should be run. But
Okay.
they're trying to control it so much that they've put all of these like crazy, like,
Guardrails.
yeah,
Wow.
around it.
And
that it-
impediments.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for explaining.
no problem. MS. Let me see MS. We see MS.
Me.
Miss Marcella?
No,
Michelle.
it's Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Oh, yes,
Um,
Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle is one of our parents who would come with us to the board meetings and help advocate. So
And she was
Um,
also the former CPAC president. who
yes,
did a
former CPAC,
fantastic job, by the way.
when it was functioning properly.
Yes.
Somewhat, not to her detriment
Well,
though.
after me bringing in the lawyers, they called it quits.
Yeah.
So here's my issue with how they run CPAC now. So it's great that there's a representative for each school, but if the parents don't know there's a representative for each school, what happens? Nothing.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
you're not doing anything. You're not collecting anything. You're just having names on papers to say, oh, we have one because we're supposed to have one.
Correct.
So it kind of defeats the purpose. And I mean, parents really need to say, well, I want to be a part of the CPAC. It should not be limited to one person per school. Because if nobody knows about it, this one person is supposed to collect everything, is supposed to, I mean, how are they even collecting issues? They're not, because nobody even knows, and they don't
Well,
even
I
know what their
think-
function is.
I think it would work if, let's just say, they have one parent representative for each school, and that one parent was holding maybe quarterly meetings at their school and inviting special needs parents or whatever parents wanted to come to discuss the issues that they may have, right? So
Right,
if that one
right.
parent is holding meetings and having conversations and then bringing that back to their board of CPAC people, then maybe I can see where that would, help. But
that would work, right?
right,
Because
but they're
now
not doing that.
it's not
Yeah,
having, right, they're not having a whole bunch of people just going to a meeting. It's just one person from each school, right? But that's not being done. So
No.
it's defeats the purpose. It's just so ridiculous on how they run things, and their policies suck. Let's be real, and they don't even follow them. So
yeah, and then the other thing, which is the big issue that we're talking about, is that parents have to now, the way they have it written, we're going to see if they're going to approve it or not, but the way they have it written is you have to join a PTA or a PTO, which 9.9%, most of them, you have to pay a membership to join, right? Whether it's $5, $7, $10. And then you can join the CPAC. So
right, but that won't work for me, right? Because I'm out of district. So then what? So I can't be a part of it.
right, and there are schools that don't have PTAs or PTOs,
That's
Yeah.
and then why should I have to pay a PTA that I don't want to be on a CPAC that I do want to be on? It just does. Again, it's another barrier, another hoop that you got to jump through to make it more difficult for parents of special needs children who already have a hard enough time to join. So that's another thing that we're advocating against, not being a barrier. And there is going to be a Board of Education meeting on October the 16th, I think it is. Is that what we said? I'm just going to look real quickly. I thought I was not going to be able to attend, but I will be able to attend that meeting. I'm pretty sure it's October 16, which is a Thursday. So I should be able to attend, and I will bring up this CPAC issue again. And yeah, if parents are able to come as well and speak to the issue, it does help amplify the concern.
I like it,
Anybody
and like the
else?
saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to make this, and people need to really start, getting together, and because nothing will ever change.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, we've moved the needle a little bit on certain things, right? Even just getting them to redo this CPAC policy. But you can have all the policies in the world and have things written on paper, but they need to then follow through with implementation. And that's, again, that's another hurdle that we would have to jump through. Miss Marcella, what time is the meeting? The Board of Education meeting, I gotta go.
6:30
6:30 at school.
at school 51, the Donald Stewart Early Childhood Center at 544 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes, and I'm just gonna double check that it is on October 16.
It is.
Yeah, October 16. And I'm gonna post it on our Elizabeth Parents and Students Care Facebook page. But yeah, School 51, Pennsylvania Avenue, and it's at 6:30. Yeah. So typically what happens there is you should arrive like 10 minutes before the meeting. If you want to speak, you're allowed 3 minutes to address the board, and you have to sign up before speaking. And typically there's a table before you enter the main room where the meeting is held, and there's usually an assistant superintendent at that table, and they try to convince you not to speak, basically. So you respectfully say, I just want to sign my name and speak, and I'll talk to you after I've done my speech. So I would advise that whatever you want to speak about, you try to write it down. Because I know, at least for the first few times that I would get up to that mic, it's the clock is ticking and you're trying to get out your words, and sometimes you get like lost in what you're trying to say. So it's helpful to jot things down. And yeah, and they usually do that in the beginning of the meeting now. So you get there, you say what you got to say, and then you can leave. So yeah, we hope. Miss Marcella, I don't know if you have any no, you're typing over here. I don't know what you're saying. Hold on, I gotta get on this chat here.
I'm in the car.
You're in the car. Okay.
From one place to another. We just left a place in Newark that we're giving out gifts for special needs.
Oh, okay.
And it was through one of Brianna's, my daughter's teachers. She goes to the cosmetology school here in Union. So she had let us know it was at the last minute. So I'm like in between, like moving all over the place. So that's why.
Okay. No problem. I just want to let whoever's on here know that Miss Marcella has started this. She spoke about it at the last meeting that we were at, but a group called Liam's Corner for special needs children, and in conjunction with the Salvation Army and True Word Christ Community Church. I probably messed that up, but True Word Church. They are going to be hosting a Halloween trunk or treat at the Salvation Army on the 30th.
Yeah.
The flyer is on our Facebook page and my Facebook page and Elizabeth Parents and Students Care and on social media. And huh?
All out. I don't care if you're in district, out of town, out of country, out of the city. I don't care. Come.
Yes, yes. And feel free to share the flyer. And then that's on the 30th. And then on the 31st, on Halloween Day, Elizabeth Parents and Students Care, in conjunction with Councilman Torres, we will also be hosting a trunk or treat. And the first half an hour is dedicated specific to families of special needs children. We won't have any music, so it's sensory sensitive for kids who don't want any noise. And just, more space, not too crowded, so that children and families can come and enjoy. And then if they want to leave after that, they can, or if they want to stay, because then we'll turn on the music, and take it from there. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. And that's that.
Then we'll be having another meeting to talk about basic rights in special education. Again, thank you to Christina, to Ricky and Patty for allowing me the opportunity to be able to continue to educate the community.
Yeah, so that meeting will be on October 24th. Again via Zoom, and I think we're gonna try to move it to 6:30. And since I have both you ladies on here, because we're trying to figure out if Fridays is a good day to hold meetings, because they're like, parents are busy on Friday nights, they don't want to get on a Zoom. So we're trying to
Christine, how do you join? Because I got a lot of parents that want to join, and when I go on to the website, I can't join, so I can't help them.
join what?
I guess join the parenting, on Facebook.
The parent group?
Yeah.
Oh, you just request to join, and there's questions there to answer, and then I have to approve you to join.
Okay, I got to see how. Okay.
I approved you the other day.
Oh, you okay? Okay, so then Brianna's gonna have to help me because I
Yeah,
got
you should.
point, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. If you could send me the link again, maybe, and I can send it to them.
Yeah, they just have to look. I'll send you the link for our Facebook page, and then they just send a request to join and answer the questions, and then I approve it. But if
Okay.
parents don't answer the questions, then I usually overlook it. So just have them answer the questions. Because otherwise I gotta look at their Facebook profile, make sure they're legit people and not like, some scammer somewhere. But yeah, so. But I saw your profile and I approved it the other day.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So if that's it, then I guess we will see you hopefully at the next one. And then maybe you guys can also give us input on what other topics you would like to see. Maybe we'll do a poll on our page about it. And if we should host, maybe one in-person meeting to just kind of, this is kind of for parents who are at home, don't want to come out. It's just easy to jump on a Zoom, but sometimes it's good to like get together and physically talk and connect and
Yes.
so hopefully sometime in the new year, because I know now October, November, December, we're gonna be very busy with all sorts of stuff. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. We're gonna be posting this, like we said earlier, on our YouTube page, and putting the slides on our Facebook page. And for those of you who missed the beginning portion of it, and for those who couldn't make it. So thank you everybody and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Good night.